With the challenges faced by the informal economy as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, how can the sector adapt and innovate during this trying time? Joining me to talk about this is serial entrepreneur and chair of Drill Point Holdings, Ezra Ndwandi. Ndwandi, it's good to have you with us tonight.
Hey, Tabo, it's good to be here, and hello to you and hello to your viewers.
When you talk innovation with the informal traders, you'll probably be speaking French because they might not understand exactly how do you innovate in the space that we are in. We sell on the streets. What innovation can we bring?
You know, the unfortunate thing is that the innovation that we're talking about now relies heavily on the use of technology. And the use of technology in the informal sector is not very popular. However, having said that, I think that if you are a product-based informal sector trader and you sell products, your innovation could be on the use of cell phone platforms. You can use your smartphone to develop an app or to develop a way by which you communicate with your would-be customers on platforms on social media like Facebook, like WhatsApp, like Instagram, to showcase what it is that you can do and leave your contact details there, because social media is so active. In that way, people get to see your work. So if you're a builder, as an example, build a house, take a picture, put it on social media so people can talk about it and ask questions about it. And before you know it, you may attract new customers, as it were. The unfortunate part to that is that if you sell fruit and veg and you are an old lady that's not techno-savvy, the problem is that how do you then make sure that you reach your customers or the customers that you had using technology if you are not tech-savvy? The alternative to that may be that you engage with your young children, your grandchildren, or so you ask them to set up an app for you. You put hampers of products like fruit and veg, and you deliver to them at a cost, of course, a minimal cost. And I think that people would appreciate that you're making an effort to reach them where they are, as opposed to them coming to you. But unfortunately, the truth of it is that the new tech, the innovation, is based on technology.
Yeah, it's cost inhibitive, is it not? If you look at the informal sector and those who actually use the services of the informal sector, they'll tell you that the reason why they'll go there is because I can get a bag of potatoes for 2 rand or a packet of bananas for 3 rands. Now, if you're going to add the cost of data, the cost of technology to that price, it would be similar to, I suppose, going to a huge chain and getting that packet of bananas.
The truth of the matter is that we need to be deliberate about supporting informal traders, because the quarterly labor force survey will tell you that 20% of total employment comes from the informal sector. Unfortunately, because of the way that we've classified informal sector, we tend to associate the informal trade or informal trading as unemployment. And that's not wrong. That's not right. That needs to change. So I think we need, as people that are consumers of those products, we need to make a deliberate effort to say, I am going to support Umam Dlamini, who I have been supporting for so long. I know that because of the situation now, she used to charge me 15 rands for a pack of bananas or 10 rands. She's now charging me 20 rands. And I appreciate the fact that she goes out of her way to hire somebody to come and deliver that packet of bananas at my house. That needs to come from the consumers. And being where we are and supporting each other is absolutely important.
I want you to give a stab at this debate while I have you on the line. Viewing the informal and formal sectors as 2 separate markets is erroneous and has led to ineffective policy support.
The truth of it is that informal sector is a shadow economy, if you will. If we are going to want to formalize it to some extent, we actually would be doing injustice to the informal sector, because it's something that, unfortunately, we do not wake up and say, I am going to start a banana trade or a stall of vegetables. It is a consequence-led activity. So there is a consequence, and the consequence is that we do not have food at home. What do I do to make sure that I get bread on the table? I then decide I am going to sell. And sell what? I'm going to sell fruit, and I'm going to sell oils. I'm going to be a mechanic, an informal mechanic. I'm going to do this, that, including those people that go to taverns. Taverns are informal by the nature of their trade. So I think that it's not something that we do by design. It's more by default, more than it is by design. So I don't want to advocate for us to formalize that, because otherwise what we're doing is we'll be putting measures that are going to be prohibiting people from wanting to pursue informal trade as a means of survival.
And then how do we fund that sector? Because then if they are not in the system, they're not registered, there is no way of identifying whether they are meeting their obligations. How do they get government support, government funding in times like the shocks that we are facing right now?
Registering them may be one way of knowing where they are. I'm talking about the tax implication to registering the business. And I do know that by and large, most of informal traders don't make the threshold for income tax consideration, as it were. But I'm saying that know where they are so you can support them, because they are an important part of our economic ecosystem, if you will. But do not do it in such a way that you start putting bureaucracy. They need to fill in forms. They need to submit their income statements and all of that. They are not that way inclined. And we have to accept that. That's why they are classified as informal, because they are not that way inclined that they will run a business in a formal sense. What you can do is, if you give them the tools that they need to survive and to sustain themselves, you can educate them about taking their business to the next level. The next level for them may mean that maybe instead of one store, I can have 10 stalls. I can have another stall next to a school. In that way, growing a business, and when you grow a business, you then become tax compliant. And that's the way to catch them in the fold of a form of a tax bracket, if you will.
Growing and expanding would require recognition from financial institutions. Charlene Duncan, director of UCW Center of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, says the sector, the banking sector, almost unrecognizes this informal sector. And there's a role that government can play here, underwriting risk so that banks can provide better access to loans, finance, and for unregistered businesses. What's your feeling?
You see, the thing is, if they get to a certain threshold, of course they would have to start paying tax. And by way of them paying tax, it means they need to be registered. By way of them being registered, it means you're formalizing them. By way of them being formalized, they can now go and apply for an overdraft at the bank, because the bank is going to ask you for your registration, your company registration documents. If you come and you say you want to apply for a bank account which has the benefit of a credit card, which has a benefit of an overdraft, which has a benefit of a loan when you wanted, a business loan when you wanted. And in doing so, it means that we should advance the informal traders to a level where they can register as a formal business. And then, of course, I mean, when they register as a formal business, then they are liable for tax. They are liable for all other requirements that any other business is liable for.
Your optimistic prediction coming out of this COVID-19 as far as business continuity is concerned and the absorption of this shock that the informal traders have gone through, will they be able to bounce back?
The unfortunate truth about this is that the COVID-19 outbreak is setting a new norm, a new normal, if you will. And a new normal may mean that informal sectors need to start to familiarize themselves with technology, need to start to know how they can reach their customers, whether it be by way of a website, by way of Twitter, by way of any other social platform where there is a gathering of potential customers, because we've seen the power of social media. You just put it on social media, and before you know it, it's one person that you had put it on, and 100 people had learned about it. I mean, it's even challenging the way that journalists are working. because social media is so powerful. Therefore, an informal trader that wants to make sure that they survive the COVID-19 pandemic, they need to make sure that they familiarize themselves with those platforms that can make sure that they sustain their business.
Ezra, I appreciate your time. Thanks for talking to us tonight.
Thank you so much, Thabo.
That is Ezra Ndwandwe, serial entrepreneur and chair of DuPont Holdings.